Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Don't forget, if you're new here, don't forget to like and subscribe and share. Put a like on this video, please. Thank you. I want to talk about something that is a little bit more serious than some of my other videos. Okay, so if you're new here, I'm a merchant seaman. I work for the Department of Defense under the Department of the Navy umbrella. Okay, so I basically work for the Navy with the Navy. Okay, and I've been doing this for over 10 years. And today is a video about challenges that I have personally faced and overcome. Okay, I made a video once about how I don't really agree with the union, and I don't think it's not, in my personal opinion, as beneficial as the union would like you to believe to be a member of the union. That's just what I'm saying. I had a situation, I'll put it that way, where I had to take action against something that happened to me, right? I will always support self-advocacy, okay? You need to be an advocate for yourself, especially in an environment like this, especially if you are a woman, and even more so if you're a woman of color. I'm let you in on a couple of little secrets that they do out here that most people don't know about. ABW stands for Able Body Watchstander. ABM stands for Able Body Machinist, I think. Those are two positions on the deck department. However, a lot of times if you hear certain people say that acronym, it is not because they're talking about something on the deck department, right? I've heard, and this is just a sidebar conversation because this isn't the guts of this video, but I've heard people refer to people as ABW and ABM, which stands for angry black man and angry black woman. It's usually code for the white superiors that they use that to spit about people, right? And it's covert. You can talk about somebody in their face and they don't even know you're talking about them, or you can say stuff that's unsavory and nobody knows what you're talking. They can't readily identify that you're talking about a specific demographic of people. And I mentioned the term ABW, angry black woman, apparently, because sometimes you're going to come in contact with people who are unable to properly communicate. So they feel like if you say something that it would, if you speak up, they'll kind of try to paint the picture, is what I'm trying to say, that you may be an ABW, an angry black woman. Right. So, all right, so let's go get with it. Had a situation that happened where I had to be off work for a while. I took some time off for personal reasons, mental health reasons, because this job can consume you. It almost did. So with that, I won't get too deep into what happened, but I will tell you that the agency started doing some retaliatory things. Like I started experiencing retaliation, and to a degree where I had to start reporting it. Oh, fix this eyelash. I had to start reporting it. And it resulted in the agency trying to put me up for permanently non-fit, right? And I wasn't permanently non-fit. I was non-fit, and it was a legitimate non-fit. But they tried to permanently non-fit me. What that means is you're fired. After all these years, that I got an email stating that the agency has deemed you permanently not fit for duty. Thank you for your service. It was in an email, not a plaque, not a letter. It was in an email. I saw it, and I was like, okay. Now, a lot of people would freak out and be like, oh no, and they tell you in the permanently non-fit letter what they are trying to permanently non-fit you for. Okay, so a lot of people be, oh no, let me call my union. Don't call them, because I need help. Okay, so I didn't do that. I definitely didn't do that. But what I did do was pay attention to the verbiage, and I know the laws, I know the rules, and I submitted an email and I CC'd all the higher ups to include the admiral and the chief of staff and anybody else I deemed necessary to know what was going on, because you can't just fire somebody for what they were trying to fire me for. full transparency, I have migraines. That's very manageable within the fleet. That's very manageable in federal employment. And every ship I've ever been on has medication to help you manage your migraines. But there is a clause that says that you can't be non-fit for duty twice a year, more than twice a year for the same thing. So it was also a clerical issue. On one of my ships, the MSO wrote up the wrong thing. So now they're like, gotcha. You had too many migraines, but you can't fire somebody for that. That's illegal. So I cited that, and I let them know that it's illegal and unconstitutional. You cannot fire me for migraines. So they took it back, right? They took that permanent non-fit back. I had all supporting information from my physician stating that, I'm okay to go. My migraines are no longer an issue. Okay. So they took that back, and then they submitted me with another permanently non-fit for duty letter for something that I was diagnosed with in 2015. This is 2022. You can't fire me for that either, because if it was an actual issue, you should have cited that in 2015 when it was first diagnosed. And that's not even why I was non-fit at that current moment. Now, full transparency, sometimes you need a break, so I didn't really care about being permanently non-fit because I knew I beat this too. And again, I did not use the union to do so, but I cited to them the same thing. You cannot fire me for that either, because if it was going to be an issue, it should have been an issue. And legally, you have no grounds to do what you're attempting to do. Now, when they do send you permanently non-fit, just so you know, there's a process too. It has to go through LER, HR, all these other channels before it can be final. And even then, they're going to have a hearing of sorts to see what's what. You know what I'm saying? So we didn't get that far. I, again, wrote an email. And you got to keep a paper trail. If I was you, I wouldn't really talk to people on the phone as much as least amount of time as possible. You know what I'm saying? The most important stuff, get it in writing. Put it in writing. Keep it in writing. Because if you don't, and make sure when you put it in writing, like if you send an email, just as a rule of thumb that I do, always BCC yourself, so when they get it, you get it too. That way you have a definitive paper trail on everything, and time stamps, all that. It's important. I would also print it off if you can, right? Print it off and put it somewhere safe, just in case something should happen, because, computer systems glitch, all that stuff. So make sure you have everything that you need in order to continue so that you'll have yourself covered. It's always important to cover yourself. Always important to cover yourself. So I submitted what I needed to submit with that in supporting documentation. Now, that was a little bit more of a challenge because they started to get really meticulous in the verbiage that my doctor used, right? So I ended up winning it too. And I didn't need a union to do it. So be very careful how you maneuver and know your rights. That's why I started this series, because it can be very frustrating not knowing where to go, how to move, where to move. That all of that stuff can be a challenge. And if you don't have the wherewithal, you're going to be kind of stuck like Chuck, and you're going to be at the mercy of someone else, deciding your career. I imagine there's a lot of people who did not win their cases, if you will, because they didn't have the information necessary to do so. And the agency is not going to help you stay in, you know what I mean? Also, invest in yourself to a degree to ask some real questions with an attorney. I forego going to the union, and I'll just pay the consultation fee with an attorney and ask some very real questions about some very real issues. There's one thing that I would love to tell y'all, but it's still in litigation. So my attorney instructed me that it's not the best time to reveal what's going on because of litigation. But should all that stuff subdue and die off, I can't wait to tell everything that I've been going through recently. There's a lot of people that's going to say, if you have a job that's trying to fire you and do all this stuff to you, why are you there? First of all, mind your business. Second of all, the fact that people ask those types of questions lets you know that they are the problem, not you. You have a complete, huge conglomerate that could definitely use a facelift with treatment of employees, etc. And people would rather attack you for standing your ground with laws that are legal. The issue is MSC has been around since like the late 30s, right? Somewhere in there. I think 1938, maybe 40, somewhere in there. Definitely was up and running before the 50s. But programs like EEO and like Civil Rights Acts and things like that didn't come into play until the 60s, 64, 65-ish. So sometimes when you're dealing with an organization that's older than certain laws, they feel like they can get away with stuff. And they have several, they don't have just like one office of attorneys. They got several divisions of attorneys at MSC. It's that big of an organization. So please don't think that you're just dealing with a couple of people. These people got layers and layers and layers of people. But don't let that intimidate you. I love going to sea. I've been a sailor for a very long time. And no one person or somebody's attitude towards me is going to change that. I'll leave when I'm ready. When it's time for me to go, I'll know it. Not because you said I got to go. I did everything I needed to do to become a sailor and to maintain being a sailor. So I'm not gonna compromise that because you don't like me. You don't have to like me. Nobody has to like you here, just so you know. That's not required. But also know that if nobody like you, you're going to have a hell of a time. And a reputation. And honestly, I've heard some pretty crazy things about me that I didn't even know that I did. So have a thick skin, but keep don't take the emotion out of it. When you write to corporate, don't make sure you, first of all, y'all work on your grammar, okay? That's important, especially on paper, especially if you're going to send it somewhere, okay? Because you have to, it's not good enough to send the admiral an email. They have buffers. There are people to read that. You know what I mean? They have people to read and decipher whether or not this is something that should be addressed or something they're just going to ignore. So let's get that out of the way. Same with chief of staff. They have people, they have secretaries and all that stuff. They have people to screen your stuff because they have a lot on their plate to deal with. So if you want to make yourself seen, there's a way to write it. And I've made myself seen. I'm going to make myself seen. But also, I'm kind of a nerd, so there is that. But you just have to be able to write effectively enough to get some attention. Because legally, certain things and certain emails have to be addressed within a certain amount of time. And if it's not, they'll get in trouble because, again, we are under the Department of the Navy. And the Department of the Navy has certain ordinances that have to be adhered to. The Chief of Staff, I think, is still active duty, and I think the Admiral may or may not still be active duty, too. Because we don't get the good admirals, we get like I didn't mean to say it that way, but you do with that information what you will. So, and our admins change all the time. Since I've been here, we've had like 4 or 5. So, there's that. So, yeah, I wanted to share with you how you can be permanently not fit for duty 2 times for 2 different reasons that are not just, and then you can come back from that. So, a lot of times everything you think is like over. Oh no, I'm losing my job. Don't worry about that. The only time you should be really fearful of your job is your first year, because they can fire you for anything and nothing at all. Even then, though, you could fight that too. I'm just saying. You don't want to let someone else ruin your federal government history because it's hard outside of this. Like, people are going to be like, you couldn't work for the government? Why? You know? So don't let anybody take anything from you, especially if you're right. But you have to be right. Okay? So I'm going to end this video with that. I wanted to make sure that you knew that you have options and there's life outside of that. Also, if you are working for MSC and you have an issue where you may or may not be fired, especially if it's not your fault or if it's not just, or justifiable, if I were you, I'm just going to give you this little gem. If I were you, I would contact the Office of Special Counsel to see if they can do what's called a stay. Meaning, and if they issue a stay, that means that you can't be fired until the full investigation has been completed. So they'll do an investigation to see if your firing is just. But even then, you make sure you have a list of stuff, a list of proof for what's going on or what they're trying to terminate you for. And I'll get an EEO real quick, EEO situation real quick, because you want to know about that too. And if you guys want me to do a deep dive of EEO and how this stuff works, let me know in the comments, and I'll let you, and we'll do it. But EEOC, a lot of times you're on a ship and something bad happens, right? It happens. I've been on ships where upper level management, this white guy made a noose and then told a black guy he looked good in it and laughed about it. Thought it was funny as hell to put a noose up and tell a white man put a noose up and tell a black man that he should be hung. Okay, that's a lot. I've been on ships where people have been sexually harassed, been physically assaulted, sexually assaulted, all that. It's happened. Some of that stuff's happened to me. So, you have a voice and rights. Know the difference between, you know, if you've been assaulted on a ship, contact NCIS. That's federal crime. Anybody's supposed to put their hands on you. Now, if you've been attacked, I'm not telling you to hit back, but I don't know what I'm not telling you not to either. So EEOC, and this is just a rule of thumb. He who strikes first is the winner. If somebody does something to you that's illegal, especially unethical, immoral, whatever, somebody calls you something, especially within the ranks of EEOC, and you feel wronged by it, then you tell them. But you got to tell them within 45 days. Trust me on this one. You got to tell them within 45 days. But don't wait. Like if somebody does something to you and you're like, I got this on that person, I ain't gonna say nothing until, as long as they don't mess with me. Don't do that. And I'm gonna tell you why. If you wait until that, say your boss did something disrespectful or rude, right? And you know he did it, you know it's wrong, it could be illegal, whatever it is. And you're like, I got this leverage. You really don't have that leverage. Because if your boss says something and you don't say anything about it, you should probably never say anything about it. Because if that same boss writes you up a month later or 2 months later for something that you did do or something they said you did, and you was like, no, he's just trying to get me and he did this. When you start trying to tell after the fact, and he writes you up and it goes to the base and you try to file an EEOC case, one of the first things they do is look at your jacket. Which means your record. Look at your record and see if you in any type of trouble. Because when you say something like that, when you make an accusation that goes to EEOC after you've been written up for something, whether it's just or not, they're going to look at you and they're going to think you're guilty, and it's going to be that much harder on you to prove whatever your case is. Unless the only time I think that gray area isn't so gray is if you have proof, written proof. You know what I'm saying? Written statements, written proof. It's not enough to get people to talk. People aren't going to talk, just so you know. It's not many people that's going to speak up and write on your behalf. So it's your responsibility to prove whatever it is you say, happened to you. So deal with that information what you will. All right, this has been a pretty long video. Hopefully you guys have a great day. If it's day where you are, have a wonderful night. If it's night where you are, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at sonali.ray@gmail.com. I do one-on-ones. A lot of times people have questions, like in-depth questions on how to do this or that. I am a wealth of information. I can be most helpful if you book a session for 15 minutes for $30. And for 30 minutes, I think it's $60. So you go to my Cash App, same thing, Sonali Ray. You should see this face pop up. And we can get that scheduled for you. Be advised that I am an active sailor, so I sometimes will be unavailable, but as of now, you got me. I'm free. Anyway, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next video.